Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and it's a 2 for Tuesday. Delighted to have you today. This is the first of 2 streams that we're doing live today, as is the tradition on 2 for Tuesdays. I almost said the word tradition, not like a fool. Oh well. We got a couple of Trump-related hot goss to deal with, as well as a big fat I told you so on behalf of the lefties to everybody else. But the good news is when a lefty tells you I told you so, they also tell you how you can make things better for yourself going forward. I cannot wait to dive into that. But, you know, I wouldn't be true to my own path if I didn't first go as petty as humanly possible and laugh at both Trump and Tucker Carlson. Here is TYT. It's the good old-fashioned, the Young Turks, discussing the hypocrisy of Tucker Carlson, as well as a change in the political atmosphere around Donald Trump. Let's have a listen.
I don't think we should fight a war against China. I definitely don't think we should fight a war against Russia. But you can't say the world is going to be a better place when China and Russia control the majority of it. You just can't say that. I'm sorry, you just can't.
No, you can't.
And yet they're making that a dead certainty.
Wow. Well, I saw Trump said he could close that in 24 hours if he wanted to. Do you think he could?
I have no idea. I mean, he couldn't build a border wall in 4 years. So, you know, there is a gap between promises and delivery with all politicians, very much including him.
Oh, Tucky. The gloves are off. The gloves are off.
That's a new one.
How about you repeat those comments on Fox News and see how it works out for you? Okay, yeah. Mr. Coward on.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree with Anna Kasparian at the end here, and I first want you to note what she just said, which is, how about you go say that on Fox? And my question at the end will be, why is he saying it at all now if he's not willing to say it on Fox yet? Regardless, I mean, it's nothing but good news. It's debating over which way the beast goes down. But I do think the relevant thing here is going to be as a predictor for the future. That said, aside from one disagreement with Anna Kasparian in a segment where she makes a bunch of points, this is a fantastic breakdown of what's going on and how MAGA is going to attempt to move forward as the evidence just mounts against Trump, and it becomes obvious that this guy is going to become more and more of a sideshow and less of the actual serious political candidate that he once was.
Fox, while you're internally terrified of Donald Trump supporters, you have, big mouth when you're on your, what is it, the Full Send podcast, I guess?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's such a great point.
Yeah.
Because he goes on these other shows and admits things that he doesn't say on Fox News. It's so interesting. And obviously, I think the real importance of this story is Tucker and others are beginning to throw Trump under a bus more aggressively. Mm-hmm. And remember, Tucker's not from the establishment wing. He's not doing Mitch McConnell's bidding. He's not, so this is a different thing. And remember, Tucker's really burning the house down on Fox News. He might be costing them a lot of money with his segments that he's doing while they're being sued. So our theory has been all along that at some point he's gonna say something so outrageous, Fox News is gonna have to fire him. He then becomes a martyr and runs, and who would he run against? Donald Trump, who couldn't build a border wall in 4 years. And wait till you see what else he says.
Well,
that is a really interesting point. The idea that Tucker Carlson probably has political ambition. I would agree. It is easy to forget Tucker Carlson has not been at Fox forever. He seems synonymous with it. But like 15 years ago, this guy still wanted mainstream media to embrace him. I think he's found his audience. He's going to keep working within that audience for sure. But in what capacity he works within that audience, that is an interesting question that they bring up.
Why don't we get to that right now?
I will say, in Trump's defense, and maybe because he's a little bit autistic, he saw the stakes of this like at the very beginning. He's like, you don't want, and this is what I do love about Trump, particularly in foreign policy. He sees the big stuff. He's like, wait, you've got Russia and China. They don't trust each other. We can't let them get together. They'll kick our ass.
First of all, there's nothing like a right-winger when they get a chance to speak the truth, because it's bottled up in them, and they tend to just nail it because they know what the other side ought to say to them. They're constantly shocked that it doesn't happen, and so when they get a chance to talk about the truth, to make their own case, they're like, oh. It comes pouring out, and it's beautiful, and it's correct. Tucker Carlson is correct there. I do want to say about that little that autistic line. Look, I don't agree with the language. I'm positive TYT addresses it. Just bear in mind what they're saying in their own immature, dumb little community. Not every person who votes for Trump is dumb. All have been duped, unless they're billionaires, but they're not necessarily dumb. But amongst the fans of that, where they go, ha 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 ha, ha autistic, ha 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 ha, what they're saying is that he's a little bit dumb. That's what they're saying. It's a shitty thing to say, but I'm not here to endorse this guy's behavior. I just want to be crystal clear that I want to point out what these folks are saying about each other behind the scenes. It's like if they called each other the F word behind the scenes. In their parlance, it means something different. And I'm sure that what he is essentially communicating here is, I'm smarter than Donald Trump. That's what he's trying to say.
And we're not going to fight a war against them, one hopes, but we'll definitely be taking orders from them. Definitely. Mm-hmm. No. And he said that 5 years ago when everyone's like, shut up, racist. Okay, he's a racist. But is he wrong?
That evil Mickey Mouse laugh makes me want to punch anyone in the face. The one person I could never debate is Tucker Carlson. Not because he's clever. I think he's smarter than your average Fox host. But no, that effing evil Mickey Mouse laugh. I would black out. I'd wake up in a prison cell. And I'd say, did he laugh? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, well, fair enough. Ridiculous.
All right, so a lot of ass kissing, but let's not forget the smooth way he slipped in. Trump's a little bit autistic.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's telling you that Trump's a dum-dum without saying it.
By the way, being autistic doesn't automatically mean that you're dumb. It doesn't mean anything.
100%.
Yeah, you want to be clear about that.
But to the right-wing audience, he's saying a little autistic. Then he's saying, well, he can see the big picture, meaning, but he can't figure out any of the details because they ain't that bright, right? So that's a lot of kidney blows to Donald Trump while kind of agreeing with him.
And remember, the kidney blows are a lot more harsh as he's exchanging messages with his colleagues over at Fox News. Thanks to the Dominion defamation lawsuit against Fox, we have seen some of those messages, including this statement from Tucker Carlson to one of his colleagues on January 4th, 2021. I hate him, meaning Trump, passionately.
Oops.
What he's good at is destroying things. He's the undisputed world champion of that. He could easily destroy us if we play it wrong, meaning play the election coverage wrong. Carlson, in his text exchange with a colleague, expressed his ultimate frustration with Trump's administration. Quote, we're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest, he wrote. But come on, there really isn't an upside to Trump.
Is that the sense you got from watching Tucker Carlson during the Trump years? Isn't that amazing what kind of a liar he is? internally he thinks Trump was a disaster and got nothing done. But on Fox, he told you 4 years, oh, this guy's great, he's great. Trump and the liberals are so unfair to him, right? But another reason that you're now seeing these quotes in a podcast that he did is because he knows those quotes are out there and he's trying to square the two. Oh, well, I thought Trump didn't get enough done, and that's why I was saying that behind the scenes. But I mean, he's better than the other, option, which is the no good libs. So that's why.
Guys.
That face.
Listen, I know that.
Look, I do want to just highlight what they just said. As we have been saying, those quotes are out there. I have been encouraging you to take advantage of that, to ask MAGA about that. Tucker Carlson, even though he is clearly not allowed to talk about it on Fox, he also knows those quotes are out there. And to some degree, he's going to be asked to address them. He will make an appearance in front of a crowd at some point. That question will come up. And Cenk is exactly right. He has got to build an opinion, a worldview that he can present, which fits with those disparate viewpoints. This is good overall because one way or another, it is inviting criticism of Trump. And when you have a fascist that can be criticized, they can't exist. Doesn't matter if they're being criticized from an equally fascist standpoint. The beautiful thing about the difficult relationships built on the left, about the nitpicky left, that's the good thing about it. That's why I encourage left debate and disagreement. In fact, just disagreement between any rational parties that are trying to find solutions, real solutions to real problems. Because you don't have that weakness then. I call it puppy fighting. You have your weaknesses exposed, and they should be if they exist. If you're trying to find solutions, actual solutions for real world problems, you shouldn't be afraid of finding out there are flaws in your plan or even flaws in your presentation of your plan. Fascism can't stand up to that. Fascism can't exist in that kind of environment because it's a critical environment. What happens? Two fascists criticize each other. They're in disagreement. What must they do then? Like the rest of us, they must find facts that that decide the point. They must turn to facts. And facts are always embarrassing for the right wing. Unadulterated, genuine facts kill both of their plans. It can only be good. But TYT is about to, in my opinion, miss something big here, or at least misunderstand something big. I'll let them say their take. I'm going to offer my take. I would love your opinion as to who's correct. Bear in mind, your old pal Jake's got skin that's thicker than baseball leather, baseball glove leather. I'll be fine. Let me know your honest opinion. But let's hear their side first.
Without a shadow of a doubt, everyone hates Trump except for the voters, the Republican voters.
Yep.
Okay, I know the business community has hated Trump for a long time. I know that based on conversations I had at the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce back in October of 2021 as I was about to debate Ben Shapiro before the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce.
And I know left-wing businessmen, right-wing businessmen, neutral businessmen. I've never met one that didn't think Trump was the dumbest man they'd ever met. No one respects him. And guys, if you're a Trump voter and you love him, I know why you love him. Don't get me wrong, I know better than all these guys. It's because he told the establishment to go F off. And you love that. Because you've been dying for somebody to say that for so long. And you're right about that. I just wish it was someone who was smart and who had your best interests in mind.
Exactly. Now,
Okay, so we didn't disagree on that part. Now they're about to go into it. I do want to jump in here, though, because, again, Cenk identifies something that is both true and useful to people who are interested in peace in the United States, in exiting this weird Cold War we're in and actually addressing populist issues. We have an opportunity, as I showed you when I did the My Microcosm stream, where I was talking about Michigan and the electoral tendencies there. If you want to appeal to MAGA, forget the traditional right and left ideologies. You don't go closer to the center in order to appeal to MAGA. No, you go brutally honest and as far left as you can. Why? Because those are populist ideas. Bernie Sanders absolutely cleaned up in Michigan. In all of the districts that did not vote traditionally to the left. Why is that? He had populist beliefs. When Bernie Sanders lost in the overall primary, where did those districts vote? They all voted for Trump. They wanted to hear a populist message. They understand the core problem. They just don't get the details. So if you try to appeal to those voters by saying, no, we're going to go full oligarchy. We're going to be so middle of the road, you won't be able to tell the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. That's how purple we're willing to be. That's not going to get MAGA voters. What is going to get them? 100% it's going to be somebody saying, tax those rich bastards. That will do it. All the other stuff, all the nonsense about trans or whatever, that's just a target to vent at, and it's gross that it works. But don't think for a minute that you are going to be appealing to those voters by going towards the center politically, because as we've talked about again and again and again, it is not liberal versus conservative issues that are genuinely the motivation here. And once we understand that, we are going to become a hell of a lot more successful electorally.
As with most messaging on the right wing, it seems like this, by the way, let me just say, like, it's so gross to insult autistic people. But apparently that is the insult they've decided to go with, because it's not just Tucker Carlson who said that about Donald Trump. There was someone else as well. Let's watch.
What do you make of all these texts from the Fox News people saying they didn't buy the election fraud stuff, but they had to delicately tread around that topic?
I know all about it.
Yeah.
I can tell you all about it. I don't want to hurt any friends of mine.
Okay.
But here's what happened. I mean, Trump used to do stuff like call my wife up.
Yeah.
Like one day I walk in the house, my wife's like, oh, Trump's on the phone. And this is like 5 years ago. I go, really? I go, hey, Alex, I'm talking to your wife right now. And then she hangs up the phone. She goes, yeah, he just spent 15 minutes telling me you've got a real man. Your husband's the man. I mean, Trump is like, he's autistic and he's very charismatic. And he's very, like, conversations with Trump on the phone are not what's on TV. Slick. I mean, like, he's sucking your. I'm telling these stories because they're true. And to me, I told Trump, I said, dude.
It was a poor time for me to do that. Look, I'm going to skip past Alex Jones for a minute here, even though it's delicious. I'm going to skip past a little bit of TYT joking about whether or not he actually had that phone call. For the record, I believe that phone call did happen because Trump has said in a book that he enjoys calling his friends' wives up and trying to get them to have an affair with him. So I have no doubt that the wife just got a 15-minute phone call from the president trying to convince her to have an affair. And she said, hi, husband, that is here in the room now. Trump says, you're great. I'm done with this. Personally, that's what I think. But it's neither here nor there. I want to get to the part where I disagree with TYT, where I have the balls to disagree with Attic Asparian, who is many times my senior on the internet streaming scene. Oh, well, I've got the chutzpah. You can't fault me for that. Let's listen.
About the former president wanting to perform oral sex on him and you're like, no, nailed it. This is where I get my news. Like how did this happen?
All right, I'm gonna say one last thing about that. Look, Bernie Sanders is a really wonderfully decent man and an honest man, right? But we criticize him anyway from time to time when he deserves it, right? And so look, my main issue with Bernie Sanders is that he just will not take on establishment Democrats. And that is blocking so many things. If he would just aggressively take them on, and if AOC and the Just Democrats, they all did it, I think it would make a giant difference. See, we're looking for someone better when we already have someone who's really honest and fighting for us. And we're like, well, yeah, but it's not exactly getting the job done. We have really high standards, right? Whereas Republicans, you're like, oh, Trump didn't get anything done except tax cuts for the rich and deregulation of the banks that blew up and deregulation of trains that blew up in my neighborhood. And everyone on our side thinks he's a liar and an idiot, but that's the best I can do. Really? Come on, man, it's a country of 330 million people. Find a conservative that's strong and smart and is there a single conservative leader that actually has your best interests in mind? We all gotta do better, man. We gotta have leaders who are for us, willing to take on the powerful and get the job done. And so far, they're really, to be fair to the right wing, has anyone on the left gotten the job done, right? So a lot of leaders that are not at all leaders, and just a ton of theater that's just kind of puts us in a miserable shape. But back to Trump and Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. This ship is turning. It is turning against Trump.
Here we go.
And so what happens when these guys turn is a completely different question. This is the biggest roller coaster I've ever seen. Trump looked like he was badly damaged after the midterm elections. He attacks DeSantis like crazy. DeSantis doesn't counter him. All of a sudden, Trump is way back up. But now Tucker and Alex Jones are turning on him. That's the base of the base, right? So now Trump is back to in a little bit of trouble. So who knows?
I disagree. I don't think that Trump is in a little bit of trouble. I think that Tucker Carlson is as cowardly as he is on Fox News, where he avoids ever criticizing Donald Trump because Donald Trump runs the show and he knows it.
Okay. So here's where I disagree with Anna Kasparian. I think from her viewpoint, it seems that way. Like it goes Trump first, then Fox, then all the little guys with their conspiracies and what have you. I don't think that's the way it goes. I think it goes, and let me try this. I think it goes little guys first, then Trump, then Fox. I think those little guys are Rush Limbaugh. That's the same crowd that Alex Jones is serving. Yeah, a little less polished, a little less hold your head high when you say you're a fan, but the people that watch that stuff, the same function is happening. The craziest ideas, the newest, wildest right-wing extreme ideas, or rather, they're not even right-wing ideas, just the most extreme ideas that can be sold to a right-wing audience, ostensibly. That gets tested out there first. And they know it's a smaller audience than Fox. But it's no different than when they try a veggie burger at a couple branches of a franchise before they see if they're and they look at sales before they see if they're gonna do it nationwide. That is what's happening here. Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, and I'm sure tons of other people on the far, far right, understand that Trump is a sinking ship. He's old. He's a little bit dumb. He's always been a little bit dumb. He's older, which means even if you think, oh, look, he's going to live to 114, fine, but that is ammunition you don't have against Joe Biden then. And there's the obvious. The guy could be in prison. How much longer are you going to be able to deal with a court of law, what is said under oath? Eventually, as Fox is now discovering, as Tucker Carlson is personally experiencing right now, your lies in front of a camera will be compared to the situation where you are legally required to say the truth. And if there is a difference between what you said in front of the camera and what you said in a court of law, it's embarrassing. And if you're with Trump, you will have to lie in front of the camera to pretend like this guy is helping anybody, to pretend like there's anything decent about it. With somebody like DeSantis, or if Tucker Carlson ran, God help us, they would be intelligent enough to give news people the out they need to be able to support them blindly but not have to worry about looking like fools when they are inevitably dragged in front of a judge. They understand, in other words, Trump is a liability. And in the era of politics that he created, where everybody has to pay attention because now the danger is obvious to us. They're not slowly turning up the boil anymore. They're taking a blowtorch to the pot. In this era that Trump created, he can't survive. It's an era of scrutiny, of actual critical scrutiny of our leaders for once. Praise be. And they know that you need somebody savvier than that. The sinking ship. So they're testing out, in my opinion, and I'd like to know if you agree or not in the comments. In my opinion, they are testing out these waters, these somebody other than Trump. Maybe just as crazy, maybe just as evil. Don't worry, we'll still get after the blacks and the trans and the blah, blah, blah. But I think Trump's not the one to do it anymore. That's what they're testing out in these waters. And if it's successful, if there is a growing, festering group that are still willing to do Trump stuff, but with somebody else leading the charge. And by the way, they're not just testing, they're also planting those seeds. It's both. When they do that in the core of their base, who listen to those shows, if it's successful, then it goes on to Fox. So where I disagree with Anna is I don't think it goes Trump, Fox, those shows. I think it goes those shows and then on to Trump or Fox. It goes base and then everything else. That's how it goes.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But the top insult comic in the country is Donald Trump. True. I don't know how he does it. It doesn't matter who he's insulting. It could be one of the most powerful right-wingers in the media or in politics. He just has this ability to cut people down to size. It's insane.
Yeah, so. And right now he's kind of running against right-wing media, not against an opponent, because Ron DeSantis is nowhere to be found. I think I saw him on a milk carton, but outside of that, he hasn't had any guts to fight back against Donald Trump. So let's see how that develops too. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get.
I mean, it's good news all around. MAGA fighting with slightly less MAGA, it only benefits. There is, however, things you can do to take advantage of this. First and foremost, issue the unsubscribe challenge. Link in the description. We know that Fox News doesn't tell the truth. We certainly know that OAN, Newsmax, they don't tell the truth. This unsubscribe challenge, I made this before the Fox Dominion case showed how obvious this was. Because it's not terribly difficult to catch Fox in any story they tell. All you do, go to somebody in your community that you are trying to pull out of that right-wing rabbit hole. Offer to watch the same story covered by their network of choice and your network of choice. Pull up the clips. Fact check as you go. You watch them one at a time, and whoever cannot pass a fact check first, they have to unsubscribe from that YouTube channel or that whatever thing that they watch for just 1 week. Just 1 week. It serves two purposes. First is it gives them a week of not being indoctrinated, and during that week they have so many opportunities to catch people saying things from our perspective, to hear some of the batch crazy things. Hopefully a news story will break in that week, and they won't hear about it first from a propaganda machine. And they'll hear how they sound to other people. But more importantly, even if they don't make good, even if they welch on the bet they don't unsubscribe, they will have had to watch some serious coverage of something they thought they knew about first. You will be prepared to watch a little Fox News. You're not going to be indoctrinated by what Fox says about X or Y. But they don't have the tools built up to comprehend actual facts. So it is going to be a big experience for them to see actual reporting. They're also going to get little things in there, like Ari Melber disclosing that on its face disclosing that a guest has a relationship with the network, as opposed to the way Fox does it, which is Mike Lindell buys a lot of ads on this network, and we're grateful for that. We think he's a true patriot. They're going to pick up on things like that. Issue the unsubscribe challenge. The other thing you can do is simply ask MAGA in your community, because Fox still does not have the ability to talk about this. Did you hear what Tucker Carlson said about you? To get that answer, they're going to have to watch anything other than Fox. And there's value in that. Catherine Wolf, good to see you. Machine Man says, good advocacy. New subscriber here. Love to hear it. Keep it up. Brother, I will. Wendy Evans says, I am watching from the UK and seeing this Trumpism developing in the language of our politicians here. Yeah, I did more of a focus in the last month on U.S. politics because the GD problem is spreading. And I think if folks around the world see U.S. politicians come to a horrific end, politically a horrific end, for their behavior, my hope is that it's going to have a dampening effect on all that. But truly, it is a worldwide phenomenon. And I think it is just a reaction to the free exchange of information on the internet and a whole lot of folks in our communities not being prepared for that. I think the folks that watch Fox here are the same people that listen to far-right radio over there, and they don't have the critical thinking skills necessary. They don't have, I shouldn't say that they don't have those skills in general, but they're not used to thinking critically about their media. And so when they are presented, this is pure, I don't have a chart to prove I'm right, this is just guess. But my operating theory for now is that when folks have when those folks are presented with the kind of stuff that the internet brings around, your Alex Joneses, for example, they don't have the media literacy necessary to understand what it is they're seeing. And so they take it as gospel truth. We also have a problem with fundamentalist extremists over here, which makes it worse, I think, which makes us more susceptible to it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist in other countries. Apologies, by the way, if we exported any of that. Good God. Oh, but hey, get rid of Rupert Murdoch. Okay, so the Majority Report. Oh, I'm champing at the bit. This SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, is such a good example of why deregulation is not healthy for capitalism. The big pitch of neoliberalism is, look, The ultimate way to decide right and wrong is to let businesses do whatever they want, and the less regulation we have on businesses, the happier everyone will be. Of course, that's nonsense. Of course, it's nonsense. And unfortunately, it's nonsense that most of our leaders, if you're in an English-speaking country, most of our leaders have bought into. God help us. This includes centrist Democrats. Bill Clinton, for example, big believer in neoliberalism. Barack Obama, to a degree, big old neoliberal. Joe Biden, interestingly, was massively into this concept. But he is more willing to listen to his constituents, hint, hint, about what you should do in general. And has been going off of that kick. He has finally, it appears, learned. But Silicon Valley Bank received, to sum it up, a break from regulations that had followed the 2008 collapse, where we decided, hey, we need regulations on big banks, and we should put those into law. We did that. We recovered then from that financial collapse, and then in 2018, Trump administration rolled back some of those on the smaller banks. They were still big banks. They just weren't as big as Wells Fargo. Let's have a look at Representative Katie Porter giving us a breakdown of why that was not good for the United States. Probably help if I play it. Here it is.
According to this chart, what is the biggest driver of inflation during the pandemic? The blue is the dark blue is the recent period.
It would be corporate profits.
And what is that percentage?
It is 54%, and that number does stay that level of high if you update that number to more recent numbers as well.
So over half of the increased prices people are paying are coming from increases in corporate profits.
Yes, the unit price index is reflected in corporate profits as opposed to other costs.
And how does that compare to historically to other periods of inflation or over other periods of economic time?
As reflected there and in other analysis, it is significantly higher in this recovery, 11.5%.
And what is it today?
53%.
So I want to make sure everyone in America understands this chart. What is a unit labor cost?
The cost, wages and associated work costs.
So we could just wages. What is a non-labor input cost?
A variety of things, including maintenance and investments.
Okay, so I have to buy the stuff to make the widget. I have to have a factory. I have to keep the lights on. I have to hire someone to make the widget. That's this stuff. And this is what I add on top.
Okay. That's her being scrappy. Let's look at her exact words in text here. Oof. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank was totally avoidable. In 2018, Wall Street pushed a deregulation bill that allowed banks like SVB to take reckless risks. It passed. Really want to stress, 2018 Republican-controlled Congress passed that. It passed even as I and many others warned of the risks. I am writing legislation to reverse that law. S2155. So just a heads up, tell you right now, tell your representatives to support this. Link in the description. This will essentially put regulations back in place. This commenter right here, let's see if I can get, oh, good Lord. Let me see if I can find the specific comment I was looking for, because, boy, I'll tell you, they nail it. Yeah, it's Twitter now, which means there's all kinds of craziness. Oh, pretty please. Oh, don't make me beg. Okay, I've got to look at this comic. All right. Cut taxes and deregulate Wall Street, says the GOP's long-term plan in this political cartoon. Crash economy. Lose election. Democrats fix economy. Cause gridlock. Win election. Cut taxes and deregulate Wall Street. My God. Well, when you nailed it, you nailed it. Well done. Basking in gratitude. All right, I'm going to jump over here for a second. Let's see if I can find this. Here we go. This is from Tristan Snell. And this is exactly, this is in response, I believe, to Porter's, what do you call it? Post. Here we go. You can tell some of this is going to get edited out. 1776 to 1933, major bank crisis every 10 years. 1930s, FDR, bank rules enacted. 1930s through the 1980s, no major crisis. 1980s, the rules are rolled back. Reagan is given 1,000 pats on the back like he's done a good thing. In the 1980s through 2010, major crisis every 10 years. 2010, Dodd-Frank rules enacted. 2010 to 2018, no major crisis. 2018, rules rolled back. 2023, SVB collapses. Perhaps we are in another crisis. Folks, regulation is healthy for capitalism. Look, I want to be on a path where eventually no capitalism. Eventually, there's just this tiny little niche thing that people do, that people who have a ton of energy participate in. And you know what? They live, more luxurious lives. That, long after my grandchildren have been buried, is the society I hope we build. But even if you don't want to go there, even if you want to say, hey, capitalism through the rest of time, even after we colonize Jupiter or whatever nonsense, well, whatever we end up doing as a species, even if you're for capitalism for all eternity, regulation is healthy for it. Regulation helps it. Case in point. That is why. It is because without it, capitalism eats itself. Capitalism is a destructive force against itself unless you control it and put in rules that allow for fair play. Don't just take my word for it. There's a gentleman by the name of Sam Cedar who says it quite well.
Let's just start with this clip, and it will help us explain more or less what happened. Understand that federally insured banks, the FDIC is constantly monitoring different banks to see what their exposure is in terms of how much money they have actually literally in the bank. Whether they can cover depositors, whether they have leveraged too much of their deposit.
Just to tell you what's going on with the intro, they're talking about, sorry, my mic was off. They're talking about what Republicans said went wrong with SVB. We're going to tell you a little bit about what actually went wrong and what you can do. But we really want to contrast the Republican, the MAGA pitch for what happened here. It's something.
Deposits in terms of loans, and when they think there's a problem, they come in and they shut the bank down. Here is James Comer. He is the Representative James Comer. Is he a chairman of the banking?
He's the chair of the oversight committee.
He's chair of the oversight committee, and he's explaining why the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. And this is one angle you probably won't hear from most rational human beings.
I get your take on the news of the day, and that is this Silicon Valley Bank loss and this failure. You were on a bank board. You're the chairman of the oversight committee. What should be done here?
Well, look, this is something that I worry could be a trend. Usually when one bank goes down, more banks go down. And what we've seen early on from articles I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other financial publications is they invested a lot of cash that I would assume they had from things like the PPP loan, government policy, and they invested it in bonds. And then because the Democrats spent too much money in all their stimulus, the bonds go down when interest rates go up. The Fed had to raise interest rates to combat the Democrat inflation. And then we see now coming out that they were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy and investing. This could be a trend, and there are consequences for bad Democrat policy. And I think we need to keep an eye on all the banking sector right now.
Well, we're waiting for a solution. We are expecting.
I mean,
that's all they've got.
I mean, I wonder if there's anybody out there, anyways, who could like really understand what he was talking about. I mean, I get what he's saying. But he's trying to blame so much of it on Democrats and things like COVID relief that caused inflation, which didn't really cause inflation, and that caused the Fed to raise its interest rates, which has a unique impact in some respects.
Do remember? Just as they're frustrated over this, remember that the point is not to present a tangible case to their audience. Their point is just to tell their audience, look, there's a Republican retort for this. You won't understand it, but you don't have to understand the other thing. Your job is to agree with Republicans and not try to figure out what's going on with this. That's all they're trying to do. So my point is they don't need a very strong pitch. That said, what they're underestimating is how many Americans are becoming genuinely interested in solving these problems.
Out on Silicon Valley, because when so many of these companies, and we've talked about this as to why they have been laying off a lot of people as interest rates go up, they don't have much cash coming in relative to the size of their companies. A lot of these companies stay afloat through low cost loans. A lot of them are startups, and they're just trying to increase their valuations so that somebody comes along and buys them out. But when the cost of money, when the interest rate goes up, that becomes harder to do. So they start to lay off people. And the Silicon Valley Bank was particularly susceptible to this, and they were issuing a lot of loans, and then a lot of the so-called small businesses that had their that had all their money there above the threshold of the $250,000 in which the FDIC insures for each depositor. Something like 90% of their deposits were above this, and what was happening is at one point, like a lot of these companies need to come in and get cash because their loans are too expensive. Maybe they can't cover payroll or something to that effect. Meanwhile, this bank is overexposed because a lot of the interest rates go up. And there was another issue as to why they were able to avoid regulators seeing that they were the relationship between how much they.
I love Sam Cedar. I love that. I love his flow. For the sake of this show, I may clip this up a bit in the future. He's getting into it now. There's another issue as to why regulators were not watching SVB as closely as they could and should have. Here it is.
Had in the bank and the loans that they had out there was so out of whack. There's a reason. Supposedly they have about $200 billion in assets in this bank. In 2017, they would have gotten a lot of scrutiny for every dollar, or once they passed a $50 billion threshold. but because of a bill pushed by Crapo from Delaware, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you're from? The banker.
Idaho.
Idaho? Sorry. From Crapo, and frankly, I mean, Democrats were on board with this as well.
50
Chris Coons was
Republicans.
there for it.
Yeah, 50 Republicans voted for it. 17 Democrats.
Right.
Voted
All
for
of the corporate like guys like Coons and Warner.
Yeah, Warner, right.
And Tester, all the people getting the money. And here's Donald Trump announcing the rollback of Dodd-Frank. Essentially, it wasn't a rollback, but it was changing the threshold in which the Dodd-Frank regulations, in particularly in terms of like your deposits to loan ratio.
Telling you how you can use this upcoming clip, and I've put the clip to the majority report in the description. I think you're gonna go grab a chunk of something. It may as well provide a view to a channel, which it would be good to boost in the old algorithm. But show this part of the clip provided in the description to MAGA folks when they come at you with why, if they dare come at you with why they think SVB went down. Because here's Donald Trump doing it.
Was essentially
causing the problem.
Increased by like 5 times. So
5 times.
50
to
250.
250.
And that's why, yeah, explicitly lobbied for by the CEO of this bank, SVB.
We've done. But we've kept yet another promise as I signed the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act into law. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for our country.
Pause it for 1 second. You know, you forget, but like, what the heck? Like, can't they just even put makeup on his eyes?
You don't understand. You've never been in a tanning bed before. Regretfully, I have. You have to put those little things on, and so that is just.
But can't they then just put makeup on his eyes afterwards? I mean, come on,
it's hard to match.
That's very
eyebrows in a very natural way that has been unable to be reproduced by makeup.
This is 2018, and you can look at Mike Pence so longingly looking at him.
Yeah.
Who would know that 5 years later he would have to turn on this one, and this great man.
This is truly a great day for America and a great day for American workers and small businesses all throughout the nation. The legislation I'm signing today rolls back the crippling Dodd-Frank regulations that are crushing community banks and credit unions nationwide. They were in such trouble. One size fits all. Those rules just don't work. And community banks and credit unions should be regulated the same way. And you have to really look at this. They should be regulated the same way with proviso for safety as in the past when they were vibrant and strong. But they shouldn't be regulated the same way as the large, complex.
We're so
All
small.
right, let me just explain what just happened there. He got lost where he was reading, and he said they should be regulated the same way, when in fact the law that pushed there said they shouldn't be regulated in the same way because, and he had to do that whole thing. So all of that was just muckety-muck. You have to understand that basically he's just saying they shouldn't be regulated in the same way because what's the possible danger? Go ahead.
Financial institutions, and that's what happened, and they were being put out of business one by one, and they weren't lending. Since its passage in 2010, Dodd-Frank has dealt a huge blow to community banking. As a candidate, I pledged that we would rescue these community banks from Dodd-Frank, the disaster of Dodd-Frank, and now we are keeping.
Bear in mind, the economic recovery that happened following the financial collapse, the stability of the banks that followed is largely thanks to Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank made illegal the betting on tranches that and a ton of other things that made the financial collapse possible in 2008. He's talking about rescuing America from that. Freaking Pence is giving the googly eyes. He's giving Trump the bedroom eyes over that, rolling that back. Ridiculous.
Keeping that commitment, and all of the people with me are keeping that commitment.
Yeah. Well, community banking, like these are not small mom and pop banks. These are banks with up to $250 billion in assets.
Emma Vigeland, folks. Hell yeah.
And like now, we're so small. We're just, helping out in our little regional areas. But now we're too small to be regulated, but we're also too big to fail. So please give us government money now.
And to be clear, supposedly the story is that shareholders and the bank itself is going to take a bath on this, but it's protecting depositors. But there's been some reporting to this effect, and I have a feeling this is going to be the big story, is that two things were going on with this point. Silicon Valley Bank. One, you open up an account there, you've got a startup, you need a very low-cost loan. The bank says, sure, we're going to give you, or here's the deal. If you have X amount of dollars in this bank, we will give you a low-cost loan.
In other words, take a risk, which is defined by your ability to be harmed if things go wrong, and get this reward.
And I have a feeling that this was not just the case for these small businesses, in quotes, but also the individuals. You put $500,000 in our bank and you park it here. This is the way it works, like for bankers, for normal stuff. Like if you.
Okay, hold up. So when we say the difference between small, big, and massive, that's what we're talking about. So when these banks are being called, we're community banks, they're still talking about, opening up accounts with more than $250,000 in them. Does that really seem like a little niche community bank to you? I'll grant there's some businesses that run off of $700 or whatever $1,000, but surely you would then get multiple bank accounts. Hence, every inch of that would be insured by the federal government. So why would you put all your eggs in one basket? Incentive. Hence the accepting of a risk in exchange for something is the point.
If you keep, $1,000 in your checking account, you're going to get a toaster. Or you're going to get, we're going to waive fees on, your checks or something like that. There's a dynamic that exists. That same dynamic exists in this big dollar figure. Put $500,000 in our bank, and your mortgage, the prevailing mortgage rate's 3.5. You're going to get a 1% mortgage.
So without playing the rest of the clip, all of it is gold. Link is in the description. Anytime the majority reports on, folks, I got to recommend it. It's, no notes. That said, I do have what you can do about it. Not terribly difficult. Contact your representative. Tell them you expect them to support Katie Porter's SV 2155. The way I've put it in the description makes it even, it's more simple than that, so that your congressperson doesn't have the opportunity to wiggle out of it. Tell your representatives in the U.S. Congress that you expect them to support Porter's repeal of 2018 banking deregulation. The point here is to make sure that your representative knows that the jig is up. I hope that's not a racism. I don't know what a jig is. If it's an offensive thing, I do apologize. that they know that they can't get away with the nonsense they used to. I have in my state 2 Democrats, I believe, that voted in favor of this. So I'm going to be writing them to make it crystal clear that I know that banking deregulation is bad and causes these problems. And no matter how much those banks pay the politician, it's not going to be worth it to me that these deregulations go on as they have. So banking regulations are important. It is healthy for the banks themselves. I will point out, as they said, SVB lobbied for the very deregulations that caused their collapse over the weekend. Capitalism requires regulation to work. It is in capitalism's disinterest. It is to capitalism's detriment that major companies are able to lobby the way they are right now. Tell your representatives, link in the description to find out who that is. Tell your representatives in the U.S. Congress that you expect them to support the repeal 2018 banking deregulation. God help us that they need to be looked after the way they are, but they do. Catherine Wolf with the pause it. Yeah, you know what? If I ever get to a point where I've got somebody running the board for me here and I don't have to do this as much, you know I'm going to be shouting pause it. I watch both, Catherine Wolf says, I watch both Sam's show and yours because of the wonk. Love it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the wonk. Wendy Evans says, forget Succession. This documentary on the Murdoch family is brilliant journalism from the BBC iPlayer. Okay, I'll have a look. Darth Humongous, love it, says, I don't have anything to add, but want this channel to have lots of activity. My man. Yes, thank you. Comments are appreciated. Likes are appreciated. Subscriptions are appreciated. Anything that can boost this in the old algorithm so that we can get as many people involved as possible and get as much done as possible. The more folks we have, we've had tremendous growth thus far. I've been shocked and delighted. But if we can get a real audience on this show right now, the things we will be able to do go up exponentially. If we can trust at any given time that we've got 1,000 people watching, we could do a campaign of write-ins. We could do a live stream where we have a write-in goal to contact X many senators, to contact Joe Biden X many times. We could have a heck of a lot of fun with it. Let's make that happen. Boost this algorithm any way you can. If you're watching the live stream later, leave a comment. Just say hi, boost the algorithm. Much appreciated. Wendy Evans says, surely if a law could be passed not to have anyone with a criminal conviction serve in any party, you could do away with all the Republicans, including Trump, at once. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I like it broadly. I like the idea, certainly, of including crimes like betraying the country. My issue with that, as written, though, with that specific version of the pitch, would be this. Let's say I disagree with a law that says you can only have black curtains in your windows, and I put up blue curtains, and I get arrested for it. Obviously, I'm being, using a ridiculous thing here. I get arrested for it. I am guilty. I decide that what I want to do about this is become a politician and change the laws. Well, I can't because I got arrested. On its as written, that's where I would disagree with it. But I think, generally speaking, banning traitors from holding office is absolutely something we should do. In fact, I've advocated for it on previous streams. Have a look at yesterday's live stream if you would like to see the pitch I have for literally booting the Republican Party out of a bunch of states if they don't get rid of their insurrectionists. Catherine Wolf says, I'd say the gig is up. Ooh, I like that. And I love the word gig as well. Gig is it's just fun to say. It's like salami. It's one of those words that's so goofy, it's not going to fail to make me chuckle. Now, oh, it's because I've mislabeled these. Interesting. Oh, yes. Okay, so Midas Touch had a lot of fun recently with Trump's desperation. As the heat is getting turned up in these investigations, the man is getting scared. And it's fun to watch. But another thing that's been brewing, another topic that's been bouncing around, is whether or not the man's going to run third party. One thing Midas Touch missed as they were teasing Trump, which I think is worth pointing out, is the point at which Donald Trump lets his third-party ambitions slip. At the very least, it's clearly on his mind. I'm going to point that out, but the rest of this Midas Touch clip is also useful on account of what they're talking about on its face, which is how desperate Trump is getting with the threat of prosecution, with the threat of indictment near.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. As indictments against Donald Trump become very, very imminent and he gets more and more terrified, he's just creating these videos of himself in this very dark room where he just rants and raves like a complete maniac. And I'm just going to show you a series of videos that he made today attacking prosecutors or asking prosecutors to go after Obama and Biden at the very least, like some real odd and disqualifying behavior, which would be disqualifying anywhere other than the modern day Republican Party. But I'm going to show you this video.
Also, real quick, how wild is it that he's still going after Obama? It's like, he's like, you remember the first album? Anybody remember the first album? Maybe he's from Kenya. First album, anyone? No? Bizarre.
Video that Donald Trump made of himself where he says Mad Dog psycho prosecutor Jack Smith needs to go after Obama and Biden. Play this clip.
Mad Dog psycho prosecutor Jack Smith. Sounds like a very innocent name, doesn't it? Put there for only one reason by Biden and the weaponized Justice Department. Should stop this witch hunt altogether, or at a minimum should give Biden, Obama, and everybody else the same treatment as they give me. Because we have two sets of justice in our country.
Cannot help the projection. Two sets of justice in our country, says the guy that has thus far gotten away with literally dozens of crimes committed in front of the American people. The guy that literally said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and there would be no consequences. Two sets of justice he complains about.
And the people won't stand for it.
Projection.
I mean, could we just reflect for a moment that he is calling the prosecutor, the special counsel, a mad dog psycho and asking him at the very least to go after Obama and Biden? What does he think this is? I mean, in his own deranged fascistic mind, is Jack Smith going to go, that's a good video. You made a really good video there. I think that I am going to stop my investigation of you trying to overthrow our democracy and stealing sensitive compartmented information and thousands of other government records. This was a very compelling video you made. Or does he expect Jack Smith to go, wow, that was quite the scary video that he made? I'm going to show you another video that Donald Trump made. This is a video Trump made for the Manhattan.
Here's the thing. Unironically, yes, he does. Do you remember me criticizing MSNBC yesterday, maybe the day before, when they were talking? They asked a question of somebody who is essentially there to present the prosecution's case. They asked a question along the lines of, do we have to consider how Trump supporters will react? Yes, he is literally hoping that the judge, when they've got the gavel in their hand, is going to hesitate. Their hand is going to shake, and they're going to be afraid of what uninformed folks will do, or rather, disinformed folks will do. You'll recall a while back we did what's the difference between misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Truly, the most correct phrase to use would be the malinformed. They literally are operating off of bad information. And we did see what will happen. And he does want that to be a consideration of the Justice Department. And I hate to tell you, the opinions of angry white people have always been held higher. Always. Because in the law enforcement community, those voices are louder. Those voices are nearer. They think that's everybody, or at least more representative of what the rest of the country thinks. Because you don't have a lot of FBI agents hanging out in diverse communities. It's always been the case. It will change slowly, particularly if we encourage people of all backgrounds to join law enforcement, to change law enforcement. But that is a concern, not a joke concern.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg.
Shouldn't be, though. We have to encourage our Justice Department that the correct way to deal with this is not to flinch. When you flinch, that's when the dog bites.
Who Donald Trump refers to as a racist in reverse. Play this video.
Crooked Democrat prosecutors, many of them racists in reverse. They are absolute racists, are trying to...
Okay, so Trump got there all on his own. Just for the record, a racist in reverse, that's just a racist. What he means to say is racist. And also, again, he's projecting. And I'll chime in for Trump here. I don't know why he tans. I literally have to tan for a medical condition. I sympathize with the raccoon eyes. I sympathize. But I quite agree with the majority report from earlier. Come on, put a little splash of makeup on there. No shame in it.
Steal a second presidential election. They did it in 2020, and we're not going to let them do it again in 2024. Make America great again.
So the implication here, of course, I wouldn't say it's an implication, is that Alvin Bragg is prosecuting Donald Trump because Donald Trump is white. That is what Donald Trump means when he says racist in reverse. And by the way, when he talks about Jack Smith's name and he goes, that's a interesting name, it's a dog whistle that he repeats over and over again, because what his implication is that Jack Smith probably has a Jewish last name and it's not Smith, but he's using Jack Smith to cover up his globalist ambitions in Donald Trump's world. That is the sadistic dog whistle that Donald Trump is trying to make. So we need to call it out and condemn it, and also let you know, why does he keep on referring to it? That's the message that he's trying to send his base there. And finally, this is a video where he says the whole reason that I'm being prosecuted is because of Trump derangement syndrome. That's why. And it's unlawful Trump derangement syndrome. Here, play this clip.
Massive and unprecedented prosecutorial misconduct due to Trump derangement syndrome and very, very big leads against both parties in the polls. That's what's causing it. We can't let it happen. It's illegal as can be.
As I've been saying this week, everybody hold up. Hey, what did he just say? Very big leads against who now in the polls?
Misconduct due to Trump derangement syndrome and very, very big leads against both parties in the polls.
Been talking about projection. Been talking about how this guy can't keep a secret. There was a video, a goofy video going around the internet a couple of years back when Trump was in office, and it's some guy going, "Oh no, I just realized aliens aren't real. Aliens haven't visited the Earth." And the guy's spouse turns to him and says, "What? Why would you say that?" And he says, "There's no way Trump could keep it quiet." And there's the obligatory blank panel followed by, "Damn it. There is no aliens. Damn it." That's 100% true. The guy can't keep anything under his head. You can hear what notes, what talking points were given to him just before his speech, because he'll go on and on about Hillary and Obama and Biden. And also, we got to deregulate because it's going to help our businesses. And Biden and Hillary Clinton Obama. You know, he is an open book. And the fact that he's thinking about going third party clearly illustrated right there, as he's saying he's got leads against both parties in the polls. He knows, I think, he's done with the Republican Party. This is that part of the mob movie where everybody's jumping ship left and right. Guys running around their mansion, which is in tatters. He's stuffing forks and clothes in a suitcase. It's the end. It's third party time. At least as Trump is thinking here in his sweaty, horrified message from his version of a cave in the Middle East.
That's what's causing it. We can't let it happen. It's illegal as can be. We're going to stop it. We're not going to let them win elections by using the law illegally.
We're not going to let them win elections with this law thing that I think is a crime.
Thank you.
Jeez.
No, you're being prosecuted because you engaged in heinous and despicable crimes. You tried to overthrow our democracy, and you're still trying to do that to this day. You stole thousands of government records, including sensitive compartmented information, and then continued to lie for about 2 years that you've returned all of them when you didn't return all of them. You commit crime after crime after crime, and now it's catching up with you.
And that's what's actually going on. Brought to you by Knock 'em Out Pete, a.k.a. Ben Meiselas. So if you weren't aware, on this channel, in the spirit of Dark Brandon, when somebody kind of goes Super Saiyan, when they go to that next level with their take, you get a fun nickname, Ben Meiselas, when he goes off like that. Well, he's Knock 'em Out Pete. By the way, if you happen to be on a Midas Touch stream and Ben goes off, try to get that Knock 'em Out Pete thing going. I'm positive they're going to have no idea what's going on. It's a bit of a humor that I think will be appreciated once all is revealed to those folks. I'm going to keep doing it. I have a blast. That said, what do we learn here? I think Trump's going third party. Come on. The Republican Party is putting their foot down. It's in their quiet, meek little, we go to white tie parties. Literally, we go to parties where black tie isn't fancy enough. We go to white tie parties. Way. But they're putting their foot down. You got MAGA folks like Tucker and Alex Jones saying this ain't the way. There's other options. Here's some faults I see with Trump. You've got DeSantis being propped up by Fox News as much as they can. And when DeSantis deflates, they'll find somebody else. Can't be Trump, though, because he's a liability. It's the money, Lebowski. He affects the money. They cannot keep profiting off the old lies they've been telling. And that's a problem for them. What can you do? Vote in primaries, folks. Vote in primaries. Go as far left as you can for a number of reasons. One, real change will be put into office. Actual populist policies will be put into office. As in popular policies will be put into office. You can appeal to more MAGA voters. If Trump goes third party, look at the map, the Michigan map with Bernie Sanders. All of the counties that went for Trump, they went for Bernie in the primaries. If Trump goes third party, there are going to be a whole lot of people, not most, but a whole lot of people in his base that would have voted for him for one of the main parties. Going to be a whole lot of people that are going to be willing to try something different. And they're not going to see Donald Trump as a realistic person to be in office. If they believe his nonsense about election lies, they're going to be even less likely to believe that he'll actually get into office. So, appeal to them. Appeal to them by going left. Now, look, in the presidential election, I don't think we're going to get a third-party candidate. I don't think we're going to get a strong Democratic primary candidate. I don't even think it's worth considering that because it simply will not happen, in my opinion. We're a long way off. But I'm not talking about those races. I'm talking about for your state Senate. I'm talking about for your state House. I'm talking about within your district, primary to the left. Those are going to be more or less clean slates for folks, and those are going to be folks that will have mass appeal. But most importantly, those are going to be the people that are going to pass good legislation. As we saw with Katie Porter and the SVB, she's been talking about this since before the problem was caused. She's been talking about how to solve the problem the entire time it's been a problem, and now we're here where we're dealing with consequences from that problem, and she's telling us how to fix it. Go left. Don't let me also make it appear like Porter is the only one who's talking like that. Adam Schiff, believe it or not, even though I'm positive he voted for that deregulation in the first place, I haven't looked. I just assume he is now against it. In the same state, Barbara Lee, she's been right there with Porter the whole time. Plenty of great choices. Go left in the primaries. It'll have larger mass appeal, and more importantly, it will get things done. Let's have a look at the comments before we close off this first of our 2 for Tuesday. Wendy Evans says he threatens anyone who is a threat. Sure, completely agree. And the anti-corporatist, you are like me. You delete messages constantly. I sympathize. I do the same thing. I will say this, though. Don't be afraid to be wrong. I look forward to respectful disagreement. And I think as long as we're being honest about our intentions, which is to make things better, there is nothing wrong. I deleted a super chat before. There is nothing wrong with, I'm just saying this so I recognize the irony of me saying it if you've hung out with me and other Let's Watches where we're in the comments together. But there's nothing wrong with saying something and then changing your mind later. Changing your mind 30 seconds later. I want to normalize that. So consider it going forward. Folks, we are going to be doing this again very shortly. But first, I'm going to upload this episode. I hope to see you there. It's a 2 for Tuesday. Thank you for joining me today. This has been, or for the first half, this has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake. See you next time.